Welcome everybody, episode 18 of the Training121 PODCAST. So today we have an entirely different topic that we're going to discuss. Each one of the staff members, that's myself, Morgan, Kinger and Daly, we've all selected a manager that we value and admire, and we need to go through essentially a couple of minutes in regards to why we picked them, why we like them, a couple of other different bits and backgrounds. I think you've got some facts, Morgan. I think I'm a bit more literature heavy. So is Gary. Kingers is going to be... I'm really excited to know what yours in the black notebook. But we also have a starting 11 of players that the manager has also been in charge of. So it'll be interesting. But without further ado...
Nilo, who's your man? Let's go.
Right, so for this week, the first, I guess, piece of information is that he scored 325 goals in 737 career appearances and then 68 goals in 146 for his country.
Nicholas Anelka.
So audacious.
Say the
Gary,
first.
These are current footballers. Every week. That's the third week in a row.
Oh, that's shocking. Say that again.
It's not a current footballer as well.
It's not a current.
No.
Robbie Keane.
Okay,
Robbie Keane.
right.
Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but no, that needs to be
Robbie
clarified.
Keane. Yes.
No, I've got issues with this now.
68 goals.
Can I flag it? What the hell is going on here? Where's the clarification? We said current footballers, no?
When?
We discussed for two straight, well, it was the same day, but 2 straight weeks of podcast, G whipped out 2 retired footballers and we were like, well, that's a no-go.
Well,
And now it's a go.
Well,
and Kinger,
guess who's on
who
the
I was
board?
slagging earlier, is on the board.
Guess who's on the board?
Yeah.
Gee, can you have
Well,
one mic?
we'll give you that one, Kinger. Daly is fighting with his mic.
I'm fighting with the round thing. I'm impressed. I got that off stats alone.
It was pretty good.
His cousin was Marcy from the Smiths. Is Marcy from the Smiths.
That is very interesting.
That is an interesting fact. How would we have got that?
That was a non.
Yeah, you got a holder.
Okay.
I always hold mine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's alright. That's alright.
Mine's like that as well.
Right. Well, Kinger, well done.
Thank you.
Comprehensive. That was, again, the shortest Who's Your Man in
Have
history.
you scored in this? Is it
Me?
I haven't
Yeah,
scored.
we too.
It'll be harder.
God.
Okay.
I'm
well,
bottom
we'll
of
do
the
that
barrel.
later. Okay. Let's jump right into it. I'm intrigued to hear you go first, G.
Okay, right. Sorry about the paper, everyone. I had to really go through this. So a little bit of background. My manager of choice is Sam Allardyce. And the reason why I selected Sam Allardyce is because I wanted to bring information to the table that I knew was factually accurate and backed by leadership literature. Because this is a paper that I done for my master's. So it is a little bit more on the literature side. So please back me.
You've lost us.
So, without further ado, right, just a bit of background. So, there was 2 primary sources of research material that I used for this paper, which was Sam Allardyce's autobiography and also an interview with an ex-Irish senior international that played under Sam Allardyce as well. So, I was able to get a bit more of an insight into what he was like in the dressing room day to day, and then also through his autobiography to kind of map it across different parts of literature. But his playing career is quite interesting. 479 appearances. He had 3 unsuccessful trials at Wolves, West Brom and Aston Villa, but he signed for Bolton at 17 as a pro. But he actually signed for them at 14, I think, was when he went into the academy, but signed his first pro. This is a quote from his first ever assistant manager. Billy Kinate is his name. So Sam was a breath of fresh air. He is a very good man manager with the players. He knows which ones need a kick up the arse, which one needs an arm around them, and which ones need to be dragged out of the local nightclubs. This was, Billy Kinane, his assistant with Limerick City from 1991 to 1992. And I heard a very interesting fact on Sunday of who his... So Sam Allardyce got the bullet, obviously, from Limerick City. And who was his replacement, Gary, do you know?
Did I tell you this? No.
Huh?
Noel King.
Noel King.
Noel King. Shout out Noel.
Facts.
Wow.
Does Noel listen to the podcast?
I'll make sure you
No.
listen to this one.
Yeah.
You best do.
Yeah, very interesting fact, yeah. So
Sure,
Kieran's
Noel.
dad, Noel King, was his replacement.
Dusty
Couple things
manager.
that I found really interesting.
Dusty manager.
Couple of things that I really found interesting about Sam Allardyce was how well respected he was when he was in the Premier League in the initial years of Bolton. In the 8 years that he was at Bolton, he developed this respect of being one of the most innovative thinkers in the English game. And this was due to his use of sports science and data analytics. This was back from 2004. So
That's
that was
nuts.
very interesting as an innovative thinker. In relation to the literature as well, what I was studying was leadership and his role as the Everton manager at the time. So essentially what Everton's goal was to achieve top 6. So that's kind of what I was seeing. Did he have the necessary leadership skills to take there? And a big part of that was strategic talent management. One of the quotes from the ex-Irish international said that Allardyce was very much focused on first team results, and this came across. He knew exactly where he wanted to bring a team and how to get them there. I've got a couple of really interesting stories about a couple of players and how it relates back to that talent management idea about using different players for different roles. But I'll get to that in the next bit. I don't want to ruin it too early. One really interesting quote that I thought on leaders, and I started here, is that leaders can provide direction, structure, and guidance to subordinates. And this allows for more creative problem solving. And that's from a paper from 1993. Why I picked Allardyce. So that was just a bit of a background into a couple of things. But why I picked him was because I always felt in football that there was horses for courses. And some managers are going to be the breadwinners of the titles. They're going to be X, Y, Z. But I was always really interested in managers who had a niche talent. So managers who were fully responsible for keeping teams alive in leagues or being really well respected in relegation battles. I don't think enough respect is placed on managers like that. And I think if you're going to not be a title winner like a Mourinho or a Klopp or a Pep Guardiola, why not be somebody who is going to be in a job for life at top clubs because you can keep them in leagues? I would much rather be a Sam Allardyce than a Brendan Rodgers, in the sense that I think Brendan Rodgers is caught in between trying to win titles and is getting dragged into relegation fights and hasn't achieved either. And I'm a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. But that's why that kind of what pulled me into Allardyce, is that he is an expert in the niche. So just back to the literature and why I picked Allardyce to talk about is that I assessed him and his leadership capability in the time of context, like I said, of being at Everton. So in the literature, there's two main leadership theories that I looked at, which was one called a skills approach. So I'm just going to talk about that first. This was coined by a fella called Connor Cates in 1974. And the skills approach basically splits into 3 sections. So it's technical, human, and conceptual skills. In relation to technical skills as a coach, this is a quote from the ex-Irish international. He said that coaching wasn't his forte. However, he had a tremendous ability to simplify the game for the players that he worked under. I thought that was really interesting because I think when all you're focused on is results and staying up, you really need to simplify football, because it's essentially trying to buy in every single player to make sure that that job is done. And I thought that was really interesting. In relation to the human story, so this is what he said to me as well. So this was noted as his best skill. Essentially, the human skills are defined as the person's ability to work effectively as a group member and also to build cooperative effort within the team they led. So going back to that story that I was talking about originally, El Hadj Diouf used to play for Blackburn Rovers at the time when that Irish international was there. And according to the interview, he said that he was a nightmare professionally to deal with. Players didn't get on with him. He was a head case, apparently. Lacked a lot of professionalism. But all these players in the Blackburn dressing room brought this to Allardyce and said, what the hell do you have this guy doing here for? So Allardyce pulls them all into a room, pulls up all these clips of El Hadj Diouf winning fouls, being nasty on the pitch, and the goals that he's contributed. And he's... What the Irish international was saying is that he went into the room like a bull and came out like a free spirit. Like, oh, like that's going to work for us. Like, that really is. And I find that really interesting that managers have that real unique idea of being able to manage those sorts of temperaments. So I thought that was really interesting. Finally, on that skills approach, so we talked about technical, we talked about human. I'm sorry for the listeners, this is quite dense in terms of talking. The final one was conceptual. If anyone doesn't know what that means, it's simply defined as the ability to see the enterprise as a whole, so the club as a whole. The author of the paper and the study noted that it was critical that these skills were essentially for people in roles that had a lot of responsibility. So when you're dealing with a football team, there's real high stakes, high reward, and this is going to be an extremely important part of a top manager. Essentially, the media were very skeptical of Allardyce being appointed into Bolton when he put his faith in psychology, data analytics, sports science, and all that sort of things. And it takes years for conceptual skills to flourish. So the media copped on these longer term games and we're going mad of, look, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And what I found really interesting that the player, the ex-Irish international, alluded to is he said, if Sam Allardyce stayed in Bolton for another 10 years, he said that club would still be competing in the top 6 of the Premier League. That was a quote from him. The average managerial stint in the Premier League is 1.3 years.
Jeez.
So for top managers to develop and express their conceptual skills, I'm so intrigued to see, excuse me, I'm so intrigued to see what managers are leaving on the table. In my opinion, I think it's really interesting. I'm going to finish with a couple of stories. I'm not going to talk about the second literature thing. I don't want to bore the listeners. But this was an interview quote from the ex-Irish international as well, where he said, Allardyce used to hold unit meetings where goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, centre forwards would all set their own specific targets, and that would allow a lot of buy-in from the players, especially because their mission was so simple, which was essentially to win games and stay up. In Sam Allardyce's autobiography, he said that El Hadj Diouf used to call him his dad, which I think is really interesting from a player that was a loose cannon. This is also what I'm going to finish off on. It wasn't even just players that he bought in to these sorts of do it, like to stay up type of thing, these do it or don't do it strategies, is that he used to buy in his staff to extreme levels. So in his autobiography, he said he had a room called the War Room. So Sam Allardyce coined this room called the War Room. Only himself and the staff were allowed in it. And in this room, staff were tasked at generating strategic ideas for fixtures down the line. And they'd done everything in batches of 6 games. So they'd pick the next 6 games, select where they're going to win the points, and that's all they'd focus on, which I thought was fascinating. And in my opinion, that's why I went with Allardyce, a true innovator in a niche market. My starting 11, I went with Paul Robertson in goal. Michael Salgado, right full.
Oh,
Tal Ben Haim, centre half, ex-Chelsea for those who don't know. I had 2 other choices at centre half. I went with John Stones. He was the only one I picked out of the England team that he won that one game with. So I went with John. I could have went with anybody. I said I'll go with John Stones because the other one was Phil Jones, who played 32 games for Blackburn when he was a teenager, which is interesting. Left back, Aaron Cresswell. I'm playing a 4-4-2 diamond, by the way. In the 6,
the classic in where Allardyce was.
In the 6, Ivan Campo.
Player.
In the 8, Mark Noble on the right side of the diamond. On the left of the diamond, World Cup winner Yuri Jurkov. Or Jurkov, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Kirchhoff.
Yes. In the
Bayern
10,
Munich fella.
I
Oh,
don't
no.
bleed know.
Oh, no, I don't know.
In the 10, JJ Okocha. Now that's a
Look
player.
at Daly melting the seat.
So nice, you gotta say it twice.
So
No.
good, and then isn't it?
Yeah.
I said so nice, you say it twice.
Sounds
Are you not even listening?
Sounds way better.
The
By
2
all
up
means.
top, I went with Wayne Rooney from his Everton time
Oh yeah.
and Ira Johnson because
Good player.
of his Chelsea standings. I had also choices of Gary Speed, Wilfred Zaha, Joe Cole, Pascal Chimbonda, and my other goalkeeping choices were like Jaskalainen, Joe Hart, and Pickford
Where did he play a coach, Good Johnson?
at Bolton. Oh, yeah,
Old
only
school.
20
That's
games.
interesting,
Yeah, he was young, and they were the best players I could pick out. So yeah, that was my.
yeah. He actually pulled it together a decent
Not a
side.
bad squad.
Wasn't it? I
Yeah.
tell you what, Gary. I thought it was a decent
Not
side.
a
But
bad
what did you
squad.
think of that?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Was it too high level?
No, you sold it well.
No, a lot of research. Good.
No,
Backed
good
up.
research because you
Was that an
needed it.
interview? Did you conduct that interview? Or is that
With
like,
the Irish
with the Irish
International?
International,
Yeah.
We'll name drop after.
That's mad.
I didn't want to name. I'm pretty sure you could name, but I didn't want to because I don't have permission.
Yeah,
so
I
I just don't want to be doing that sort of stuff. But
Right. Nice one, G. That was good. I don't think your 11's going to win now, to be honest with you.
No.
But it was a strong 11 considering Sam Allardyce, I suppose you could say. But and nice that you didn't take all of that England squad that you could have. The one
Yeah,
game.
I could have rather. I could have.
You could have, but you didn't. Good stuff. Kinger,
Yes.
I'm sure the audience is waiting for this. On the YouTube, do you know the way we have chapters? It's going to be Kinger's Choice. It's going to be most replayed, I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
So, drop it for us.
Right, Alex Ferguson, best manager ever is my first point. He managed United for 27 years, so longevity. longevity. 27 years. I'm not even 27 years old.
Yeah, that is crazy.
27 years. Are any of you 27?
I'm 26.
Me too.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
27 years, he managed.
King, you knew that. We were literally talking about this about literally
In them
an hour ago.
27 years, he won 13 Premier Leagues, 5 FA Cups, and 2 Champions Leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Trophies speak for themselves. He managed Aberdeen, won 3 Scottish Leagues, and a Cup Winners' Cup, which is effectively the Super Cup,
Mm-hmm.
which is a joke with Aberdeen, can I just say. He was LMA Manager of the Decade in 1990 for the 1990s. I chose him for his man management, which is fair enough, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Speaks for itself.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Man management, counter-attacking football as well. So 4-4-2, I'm a fan of the 4-4-2, and they just drop off. Proper wingers.
Oh, I
Giggsy,
hate that saying.
Becks,
That is fair.
Ronaldo.
Head down direct.
Why do you like 4-4-2s?
That's a question. I don't know.
I think you. I think you like excitement in football.
Yeah, I like 2 up top, and I like the 2 wingers.
Mm.
I just like it. Yeah, it's rigid. You can
Nice.
defend and you can attack 4-4-2.
Rigid.
You can defend and you can
Rigid. I
attack
like it. Yeah,
in
go on.
any system you want. Yeah, so best manager ever, longevity, Cup Winners' Cup, 3 Scottish Cups, Aberdeen United. Why man management? All the man management stories that you hear about him. Can I think of one? Gary Neville
Mm-hmm.
on the Gary Neville
Yeah,
podcast.
I know what you're talking about.
The one you put me onto.
Yep.
Can you remember the story?
Well, he says so many stories on it. The one
The
specific one.
one. I don't know. I had one in my head earlier, but it's gone.
That's okay.
Get down on paper.
On to my 11. Picks itself. It's probably the 08-09 team. So I've got Van der Sar in goal, Neville right full, Vidic, Rio, Everett,
Okay.
Giggs on the left, Ronaldo on the right, Scholes, Keane, Rooney up top with Van Persie.
Van
Okay.
Persie.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
debate
say,
it. Go
'cause
for
you
it.
said
King,
to
in
us, King,
fairness,
no,
yeah,
you said to
yeah.
us. You said to us earlier. Fergie's managed some unbelievable players, and probably some older audience going, "How is let's say Cantona?" And no, I don't think Cantona should get in that 11. But like, why isn't Cantona in it? Give your context.
I've never seen Cantona. I've never seen Schmeichel as well. Was another one that I was going to put in.
What
but
about
I've
Van
never seen
Nistelrooy?
him. Never seen. I've seen a bit of real Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
I could have put Van Nistelrooy in, but I just love Van Persie.
That's your 11.
That's my 11. I'm trying to think. Is there anyone else missing? That was close.
Becks.
Bex was close.
Yeah, Becks is
Still
close.
though, I didn't
Ronaldo,
see, I didn't see the
Ronaldo.
best of Bex.
That is fair.
Ronaldo's in there.
Yeah, that's and then I have a bench as well. So I've got Chicharito on the bench because he's a bench player. I've got Ollie on the bench because he's another bench player. I've got Antonio Valencia for the. I don't know. He just deserves to be on there. I think.
Yeah.
You need right full cover. I've also got John O'Shea there
Ah, classic.
for more right full cover, just in case they're covered enough.
Anyway,
I've
you
got
need shout out Johnny
Berba.
for the assist.
Berbe.
Burba, yeah.
I've got Tevez.
Four center forwards.
And 3 rifles.
No depth. Yeah.
I've got Wes Brown, and
That's
I've got.
another right full King. What is wrong with you, man? Out of all the
He's a centre
players,
half. He needs a centre half.
No
John
spare
O'Shea plays centre
goalkeeper,
half.
4 rifles, and 4 centre forwards. Who's playing in the middle of the park?
John O'Shea, man.
John O'Shea's
true.
true. There was a team as well in the 4-4-2 when they had 2 back fours. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Raphael was in it
and
all
won the
that.
game.
Yeah, they won the game.
Mm-hmm.
4-4-2. That's why I like 4-4-2. I think.
Raphael,
Just
Fabio
put-
playing right and left wing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Is that your whole bench?
That's my bench. Yeah, that's my bench.
no
Any
subkeeper.
midfield, I couldn't think of a
Okay.
midfielder. Carrick probably deserves to be on it.
Yeah.
But when I was trying to put someone in with Scholes, I didn't want to put Roy Keane because I didn't see a lot of them. But
Who did you put in with
You
Scholes?
put in Roy Keane.
You did.
I did put in Roy Keane.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
why I
sorry.
put him in because
sorry.
that was my butt. But that's it. Yeah, so I just threw him in. Carrick could have been in there. Is there anyone else that I can't think of? I don't think anyone else would be in there.
For
Fletcher,
For
no.
who you've seen.
Who was your
For who
keeper?
you've
For
seen.
who I've seen.
Van der
Van der
Sar.
Sar.
Yeah.
Probably fair
What
enough.
about
yeah.
for who you've seen? Did I leave anyone out? Midfielder?
I'm 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
So no.
In
Not
those
really.
2 years.
Kagawa, Shinji.
There's no one.
nah,
I couldn't think of a midfielder.
Carrick. Trying to think.
Like Tominay. He
Oh,
missed
the
Fergie though.
Scholes.
He missed Fergie, so.
To its interest about yours, you actually don't need to talk about Ferguson in too much depth. I need to sell mine. I don't think you need to sell Ferguson. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Uh-huh.
I think that's a worthy shout, Kinger.
think
And
I
I appreciate your raw, young nature of just my club, my team, my win.
And you'd back yourself against anyone, wouldn't you?
Yeah, best
Good luck
manager
against
ever
my
was the
11.
first point.
Good luck against my 11.
Yeah, that's about it on Fergie. I don't think there's anything else really.
That's very good.
The trophies speak for themselves.
I'm gonna
Nothing crazy.
I'm gonna throw it over to Morgan next because
I'm all
Gary,
in, lads.
yours is gonna be a fun one.
He's going to
I'll
get
fly
picked
through this.
apart on the counter attack.
Right, here we go. Jose, the Mourinho fella. Right. I'm looking at two things. I think you're going to go off this kind of whim as well. I think I'm going to go off two very broad topics you need to be a successful manager, and successful can be defined another way. So success is championships, so on and so forth. You're winning titles. Two is influence over people, over tactical things. You look at Pep, how much he's innovated. Daly's obviously going to talk about someone who's also quite similar, very innovative. Sam, I suppose you threw the word innovative in there. We're not going to throw him in there in this mix. But I know what you mean.
That was my cog in the wheel.
Yes, for in influence, whoever he had, El Hadj Diouf, he obviously influenced him in a good way. So I presume you could say that. But this is vast influence. So Jose, for me, ticks both boxes. Does he influence people? 100%. Does he win? He's a serial winner. So that's why I'm going with him. Right? I'm all in with Jose. I loved him at United, by the way. I was absolutely sickened when he had to go. I was delighted when he came in. He's the man. To give a little bit of context, right, I'm going to talk about influence for 2 seconds. I don't think the modern player suits Jose's style, yet he still manages to get results, right, with them said players. The only team in the last couple of years who hasn't won a title with or a cup with is Spurs. Right? And Spurs are muck. Right? Spurs are muck.
They sacked him in the cup final.
I was just about to say 2 or 3. No, Kinger. You're dead right. Because if I didn't fact check that, I would have been delighted you said that. 2 or 3 days before he got
Scandalous.
He sacked was before the Carabao Cup final, which a final they hadn't been to since Jonathan Woodgate played for them.
Did you ever see
FA
the
Cup final.
stat with Guardiola and Roy Mason? It was like game is managed and Guardiola like 800 games and Roy Mason
Roy
2.
Mason.
And he had
Poor old
one.
Rhino. I know they only lost the game 1-0.
Yeah.
They still lost one game. I think Jose would have won that final. Or would have had a much better chance of winning that game if Jose's in charge. Let's be honest. So he got to Spurs a dogged, awful. No, I'm not gonna say awful. They're a good side. They're all right.
Spineless.
They were spineless side of time, but they still managed to get to a final with Jose, irregardless of how they done the league, right? And he got sacked. So success speaks for itself. I'm not gonna even read out. I think it'd be ignorant of me to read out his titles. Go for it.
Question actually, and this is kind of touching on what you said. Do you think now his style of management is like he won't win again at the top? Do we think?
Do you mean top like Champions
Like so from
League?
now on, like will he win the Italian league with Roma? Could he win a Champions League? Or
I
do you
think he
think
could.
that style of management is now gone? You think he's
I think he still could.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I think going to Roma was a brilliant show for him because you've got players there who are obviously internationals and so on, but they're not your Pogbas, your Ronaldos, but they're good players, very good players. Like by no means am I disrespecting them. He still obviously won a third the Conference League with them, right? I don't say with them. I know it's the Conference League. You can say he still won a European title.
Yeah.
You got to win, right? You got there, you won the game, you win the title. It's unbelievable that he's done that. But do I think he can go and after
like
2 or 3
top
years
job
influence?
Again? Does he have another top job in him?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he'll turn Roma into a top job. I think he'll win Serie A and make them a top
If he's
team.
given the longevity like G said though,
I think
you
he
need
will,
time
though.
to influence.
Yeah.
What is the pedigree to not give Jose a little bit more time?
100%.
What else can he do in order to earn this respect? And I'm sure if you ask any players, if he were to leave Roma tomorrow, I'm going to go back to a quote before I get onto the title.
Oh, yeah,
if you're going to
you'd
leave
be
a club, the influence you have, you'll know it like that from players, right? So there's 2 things I'm going to refer to. One was Materazzi. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When he left
he's in bits.
after the Champions League final, they knew Jose was gone. He was gone immediately after that. They wouldn't see him again. And did you ever see the video of them in the tunnel? Look it up. The two of them are crying, hugging each other, and then they disperse, right? That's after winning the Champions League with Inter, right? That's one thing. Second thing, from me, this is a quote from me, i.e. Steve Sidwell, who said, when Jose left, every single member of the Chelsea team cried in the training ground. Now, that will show you the influence. Now, that was raw Chelsea prior. Or no, was that his second coming to
Second
Chelsea?
stint.
It would have been his second stint.
It would have been his first one, surely. Steve Sidwell was hardly there the second time.
I think he was.
Jose was
I
away.
think he was with the
Or-
Samsung
How many
badge. I
stints
think
did
he
he
was.
He done
3?
2.
2? Definitely
He was
first.
definitely the first one, yeah.
Definitely
The second one was like
irregardless.
2014.
I would have thought though that was very I
Yeah, no,
remember
Steve's
Steve
just-
did well with the Samsung.
Steve
got a
did
big
well
move
as well.
after Reading.
Irregardless.
He was with Reading, remember?
Yeah,
and
big-
they weren't in
yeah.
the Premier League in years. They were in the Premier League in
So that
years.
was the
You're
second
right,
time.
Gary,
Even
yeah.
more
Yeah, anyway.
baffling, but irregardless. Second thing is big rap. But John Terry said obviously he would leave a pitch in a coffin for him, right? Which is a good way of describing. I don't even know the guy. I would die for Jose if I were to play for him. So that's that. Getting on to why I like him. I love that he's a modern coach, constantly innovates with whatever crop of players he has. He knows who his recruitment's also excellent, but he's a modern coach with old school values, right? Which I like. So I like to describe myself like in the football game. You could describe us quite modern, doing supplemental coaching and so on. So I enjoyed the modern side of the game, but I am very old school in my values. I think probably from bleeding Broseph, to be honest with you, very old school, very to the point. So the whole idea, like things that I value in footballers, players who run, players who defend, players who want to do the basics well and earn your right to play. Everything after that, it looks after itself, which I like. I also like his very blunt philosophy. There's a great quote from, I think someone was asking about, oh, you can play well and not get results. And he goes, no. The first thing you do when you go to a club, you win, then you sell your philosophy. So he's like, everyone is so stuck on, oh, I'm going to go in and get my philosophy going 2 or 3 years. And Jose comes in, he wins, then you earn your right to sell your philosophy. So you can do whatever you want with the crop of players. You earn your right to win with them, then be like, right, this is how we're going to play. Obviously, that style is coming in from when he starts. But that idea, and he goes, are people like, oh, you can play well and lose? He goes, no, if your team plays well, you win. And that's it. Like, as blunt as that. Now, obviously, there's going to be contextualized things to that. But I love that blunt nature of, you perform for me, you will win the game. And if you don't, I will take the blame for it, which is a nice way of looking at it. And I love how honest he is. Now, I have a list.
Oh,
A
God,
very
get the list out.
this list could have been 40 players, by the way, but I've managed to. I brought it down to 7 players who he has publicly called out, right? And I personally think, doing the research on it by looking at interviews, I was doing all this yesterday. I was very intrigued as to why does he do that? Like, why does he call out people in the media? I think it's his last resort. So I think he's trying to do everything to get them going behind the scenes, and something's not clicking. He's like, if I go to the media or say something, it could be something so sly or something so simple, I think this could be the trigger. If they can't take that, they are not going to play for me, right? So if they can't take it in the media, they surely cannot go perform on a Sunday for me, if it's a case where I've been telling them for the same thing for months and they still won't do it for me. So I'm going to go through the players he called out that I agree with. Number 1, Luke Shaw. Criminal, right? Clearly a criminal. I know we scored yesterday, but who cares about that? Criminal. One of the most overrated fullbacks in English history. I think we'd all agree on that. No, I think he's
is
so
definitely
overrated.
a Shaw
Yeah.
fan.
I'm not
So
a big Shaw fan,
overrated.
but I wouldn't say he's one of the most overrated left backs.
No, he
all
is.
of
I
English
think
time.
he is.
I think
All
he
time.
is. Well, who is overrated in the English? Like, Ashley Cole was
Ashley
fantastic.
Cole is, he's overrated.
Nah, Ashley Cole's
Kinger.
fantastic. Kinger, you have put yourself in another hole.
King-
No, Ashley Cole's fantastic.
Oh,
Another rat,
stop.
by the way, for the way he carries on. But
Wayne Bridge, then
fantastic.
Wayne Bridge. We stick with Wayne Bridge.
no, he wasn't overrated. But yeah, no,
Correctly rated.
correctly read.
Next one.
Right.
Luke Shaw, I agree.
And also, do you remember the whole shindig? There was like, oh, Mourinho treated him so badly. Do you know what he said in the press conference?
No.
Right?
He
This-
said like he prefers when he's on the
Yeah.
same side. Marino wants him on the same side as if
Yeah.
he could coach him through the game.
What he stated was,
Basically.
Luke Shaw, I think, was 21 or 22 at the time. Okay, at United. Still young. But he said, Luke's got it technically, he's got it physically, but he hasn't a clue what he's doing, essentially, up here when he's playing games. No understanding of the game. He's like, what he said was, I have the quote of it, he played well, so I think he brought him on against Everton or something like that. And I think everyone's like, oh, Luke's doing what you're telling him to do now. He's like, I think he played like a half or something like that. He's like, no, he played well because he was on my side and I helped him through the game, is what he said. He's like, he needed that from me, was help him through the game. Luke Shaw cannot defend the back post still, right? Number 1. Number 2, Eric Ten Hag has come in, changed United, we'll say, for the short term. I'm not saying long term. For the short term he has, Luke Shaw hasn't kicked the ball yet. He's came on once or twice. Brought in one young lad. Malacia is 10 times better than Luke Shaw, right? And Malacia is still so raw. So raw. Still has a lot to learn. So that will give you the idea of Luke Shaw. Now, Luke Shaw could come back and prove me wrong with his career, but he hasn't done so far. Right?
I'd agree with you.
That's his first call out. Second one, Tanguy Ndombele. Another spoofer, right? Another spoofer. So, I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Good baller, has a bit about him, does a little roulette every so often. Like, he's a bit of a player, doesn't turn up
Yeah,
next
that's
week.
spot on.
Not having that at all, right? Not my type of player. Longevity, doesn't have the old school traits. What he said to him was, in a press conference, he goes, Tanguy's had enough time here to get to a different level and he hasn't done it yet. 18 months he had, never performed. Where's Tanguy Ndombele now? I couldn't even tell you. Where's he playing? Is he still there?
Is he?
He's gone back to France.
Yeah,
Yeah.
France.
Come back to France,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that will prove everything Jose has to say. That's all I'm going to say there. Number 3, Tony Martial. Your love
I'm
child.
sticking by him.
Your love child.
I'm sticking by
Where
him.
is he this year? Ten Hag.
Injured.
Pre-season.
He's injured.
Where is he?
He's injured.
He's injured, is he?
Yeah.
Treatment
Spoofing.
table.
Spoofing. Another absolute criminal. Doesn't want to run.
He'll
Doesn't want to
prove you
defend. The laziest body language. Does he have a bit about him, Kinger? Absolutely.
Abundance.
Yes, absolutely. But so does nearly the majority of players in the Premier League. So let's not dispute that any longer. And he's not young anymore, can I
Factorial.
say? Straight fact. Where Jose called this man out was after, in pre-season it was, he had a baby, right? So go. Enjoy the birth. It's beautiful. He goes, in the interview, he's like, beautiful. Mother's healthy. Baby's healthy. Tony's not here. He's meant to be back. So he was giving out that he didn't have a proper pre-season, so he didn't come back fit because he took too much time with his missus. Now, don't get me wrong. You can have time with your missus, but I know, like footballers, you have a job, right? I know he's away on pre-season. You could be lenient. I don't know the exact fact of the days, but there was obviously an agreement that Jose said, you go, you do your business, you do exactly what you need to do, enjoy the time, but like, we've got a season to prepare for. I know you could say that's a little bit cutthroat, but he obviously got some sort of agreement before he went back, and he said he's not back, and that's why he called him out publicly, I think. I don't think Martial done too well under him, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a couple of spells, because Martial is a spell merchant. He has a month where you're like, oh, he's a bit of a player, and then, oh, my hamstring's gone. I'll go to Sevilla for a while. What you say there?
Harry Potter. Spell merchant.
Factorial. Right, so that's Martial. We all know about Daly, the whole thing, all or nothing. He's like, you're going to sit back and regret your career. Don't need to say any more on that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Number 5. I don't even know how many I'm on. I'm taking scalps here.
Danny Rose, he under?
No, Danny Rose isn't there. But
Morgan said he could have a list of 40 players.
I could have had a list. He should have been top of the list, but you're dead right. Number 5, David Luiz, right? Did he have a good career?
Yeah.
Yes. Without a doubt, he had a good career. But David Luiz is not a top footballer.
Oh, stop.
No, he's not. He's not a top centre half.
Oh,
if you're looking at
no.
all-time Premier League 11s, he's not a top centre half.
No.
He's not in there.
No.
No, he's not. He's not in there. Top centre half
On
in the
his
Premier League.
day, he was top.
Yes.
Oh,
On his
So is
day.
everyone in the
I'm not
Premier
saying
League.
he's top.
Like every other player in
Like
the
every
world.
other player in the
Premier
Premier League. Yeah, that's fair enough.
No, but
But
he,
you're looking at
he had
consistency.
good spells. He had good
Yeah,
spells.
he's
Yeah, but
team
top
all the
players
time.
don't have
I think he's in
spells.
the team all the
Top
time.
players have consistency.
Yeah, top players
David
don't go
Luiz.
from Chelsea to
David Luiz
Arsenal
was getting
either.
the run
I
around
don't
the
know, I
PSG.
don't know, I don't
Suarez
know.
nutmeg Stanchville. What a
don't
goal,
know.
by the way.
Top players don't go from Chelsea to Arsenal. Yeah,
Yeah, when he was
cash
about
out.
72. Good player, by the way. Check.
What did he say about David Luiz?
What he said is when he left, right?
Oh, okay.
Do you remember he was a thorn in the side of Chelsea for a while, right? Which
Yeah.
seems to be a lot of things with South Americans. When the things aren't going their way, they're very erratic and just seem to upset the camp. Marcus Rojo in United, for example. No, David Luiz, when he left, essentially what he says, he won't be missed. Did they miss him?
No.
Chelsea?
No.
At the time? Absolutely not. So he was dead right about that. So I'm backing Jose there. Now, I'll probably be harsh about Luiz.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, consistency-wise, not there. Not having it. He went to PSG, lads, and he was a bit mediocre. Come on.
What's the Jose one?
Come on.
I prefer not to speak.
No, I'm not having him. And to be honest with you, there's another 4 or 5 there. I'm not going to get onto them. It's a whole shebang. There's some
Give us the
great
starting
spots.
11. Put us out
Come
of
here,
misery.
Morgan.
Okay, yeah.
I do know why you are saying that, because all those players go against your old school values of running, hard work. There's nothing more frustrating than a player that has ability, and that ability is worthless.
David Luiz is. Let's keep on David Luiz. Did he have spells where he was a good centre half? Yes, but he's probably he's so erratic.
He had a savage spell where they put him in the middle of the park. Because remember in FIFA, you could put him in the middle of the park and he was outrageous.
But consistency, I'm looking at longevity here. So I see him calling out players who don't have longevity and have real grit.
He played at the top for a while.
Yeah, look,
PSG,
Yeah, you could
I'd
argue.
be with
Yes,
David Luiz on
PSG.
that.
were-
Brazil.
Yeah, but still not having it.
Remember the goal against Colombia, was it? Was it Colombia he scored?
He's
the
not
free
paid
kick?
to score goals. He's paid to defend. He can't defend.
His free kicks are a joke.
Yeah, unbelievable. That technique's a joke.
Joke.
Irregardless, I think he's spot on for calling him out. Anyway, his list is substantial. Look at the length of this thing. That's his
Show the camera.
honours.
Name drop the rest of them. Just say their name. Like
26 trophies. He called out Hazard for his longevity.
Oh,
Spot on. He called out Pepe. Very funny. Anyway, he was
Pepe?
he was moaned. Now Pepe has a great career. That's not what I'm saying. But Pepe has a tendency to throw his toys out of the pram when things have gone wrong. What he said was very funny. He said he's just sour because a 19-year-old Varane is playing better than him. And he can't get his place back. And look at Varane now. Look at Varane now. I know he's at United, but he's absolutely spawned. It's a good quote. Anyway, like I said, there's a lot of people there, and that sounds very spiteful of me, that whole whipping around. I think it was quite funny. But I actually am very much with what you're saying with a lot of players. 26 major trophies. Right?
Wow.
Unbelievable. Now, some of them were as assistant, okay, when he was at Barca. But still, you're still in amongst it. But irregardless, he's won top pedigree things. Individually, he was the world's best club coach 4 times, right? Across multiple different years. I don't have the years because it's not that important. Before I get into my starting 11, I'm sorry, I'm going on for a while here. I'm going to go after you, and I'm going to go after you here. Because it's not time for you. It's not time for you. I will go after you. This is Jose's record against Sam Allardyce.
Oh, you can't do that.
It's time. I'm waiting for yours. You're in trouble. You're in real trouble. You're in real trouble.
Great idea.
Sam Allardyce, 13 games, 0 defeats, 10 wins, 3 draws. Okay?
3 draws.
3 draws.
I'm going to say
all
Fergie's
them
the same or
games,
something. I'm going to say
Mourinho
Fergie.
was
Fergie.
favourite and
I'm
all
going to
them.
say Fergie probably didn't beat Wilder, did he?
Right? 16 games. Actually, not that many, but 16 games together. They drew 6, right?
Right.
He won 7, and he's only lost 3 times to Fergie.
Wow.
Oh.
3 times.
Wow.
So his record is much better
Shit,
than
that
Fergie's.
is...
Neck to neck.
yeah.
But
Or head to head, should
that's
I say.
the
neck to
Porto
neck.
game as well, isn't it? Remember that one? Champions League.
Yeah. Still won
Counts
the
though.
game.
Games count.
Did they win the
I'm just
Champions League that
trying to
year?
run them in my head.
Jose.
Yeah, you
There's
sold
no
me.
disputing it.
That
And,
you
and
sold.
I'm coming for you as well
God.
after.
As
You're in
Oh,
real
God.
trouble, although they haven't played that many times. So
Give the stats now.
starting
Anyway.
11th, huh?
Do you want to get the stats on
No,
this?
because I want him to reveal his own manager. Number 1, Big GK. I have gone. Good choices here. I've gone for Petr Cech.
Yeah, good
Longevity.
Lloris now.
Back up. Oh, he's not even in the list. Do you know what? He's not even on the list. Spoofer. Hugo Lloris.
That's a good
Back up
choice.
is Casillas or Bleeding De Gea. Right? Not bad.
Isn't that
Not bad. Right? Right full. The list is endless. I have Valencia's back up.
Is Carvalho in there somewhere? He's a centre half, wasn't he?
No.
Is he
Back
not in
up.
there?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
he's
isn't it?
not
Oh,
right
sorry,
full.
sorry. Your team.
Right
not
full.
mine.
Zanetti.
Yeah.
Right?
Inter, yeah.
Every single player,
Yeah.
by the way, I have on this list has played over 100 times for Mourinho. That's why they're in the squad.
That's fair.
So not just, I had them for a while. These are top players in their peak when he had them playing a number of games for them. So they were pivotal, not just in general as a footballer, but also for his squad. So Zanetti is my rifle. The backups are a joke. Paulo Ferreira, Ivanovic, Valencia, Arbeloa, Azpilicueta, and Maicon.
Yeah, sick.
What is going on
They'd
there?
all play in my team.
Ridiculous. everyone
isn't
here. I've got like 17 backups for centre mids. They'll all play in your squad.
Go.
2 centre halves.
God.
I'm going to go left centre half. I'm going to go for Ramos. Okay? Because I think he's erratic and I love him. I think he's the top centre half, obviously. For ability, I'm going to put John Terry in there. He's a rat, so he's not going to be in my squad. So Carvalho is going to go in there. Okay?
Ricardo Carvalho.
Ricardo Carvalho,
Player.
who is his most... he has the most appearances ever under Jose.
Wow.
Guess how many games he's played?
Well,
2.
hang on. Porto, Chelsea,
Uh-huh.
Real Madrid.
Uh-huh.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I think so.
230.
I'm going to say 362.
I'd say 350.
Is that too many?
No. 292 appearances he's played for under Jose. That's a incredible
That's
amount.
a lot.
Jaskalainen played 310 for Allardyce.
That's also a crazy amount of games. So yeah, so Ramos, Terry, Carvalho. Terry's a better player, but we all know what the story is there. I'm not going to go into that. The backups, Varane, William Gallas, Materazzi, Pepe. Come on. Pepe wasn't getting near that squad though. Left full. I'm playing a 4-4-2 by the way. Direct. Left full is Marcelo. I've gone for Marcelo over Ashley Cole purely because I think when Marcelo was under Jose, come on. Marcelo.
Surely he's miles better than Ashley Cole.
No.
Debatable. Very debatable.
Ashley
Cole's
Cole
top
was a
defender.
joke.
Yeah, no, I
Top
agree.
defender.
but he'd be tidy. You consider him tidy.
Oh, Marcelo's
Marcelo
a
can
joke.
do
Marcelo's a
stupid
joke. Oh, yeah,
things.
no, as a baller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
actually
As
Cole
a defender,
could
actually Cole.
defend. Like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Marcelo. Yeah, true. Yeah.
If I want to
I love
play.
Marcelo.
I'm looking at Marcelo for diags as clips, so Marcelo's in my team. Right wing, very limited on wingers.
Really?
Very limited. Very limited. So I've gone for Ian Robin as a right winger, inside left. Bah!
very limited. Chips Robin. Are you joking me?
Yeah, but that's the only one. The backup is Will.i.am.
Oh, okay.
Will.i.am. Pop up
Player.
Will.i.am. Yeah. Left wing,
Danish
peak
Duff.
Hazard.
Chelsea Hazard.
Peak Hazard.
Yeah.
Right? Fair enough. Come
Yeah.
on. His backups, though, are Duffer. Rashford was very good under Jose, although nowhere near the bracket. And then Humming Son, I'm going to throw in there as a backup as well.
Son, yeah.
Yeah, good player. No, he didn't. So that's why he's not in the squad. But
Oh,
irregardless,
yeah,
he's
'cause I
not
was
over
thinking
Hazard.
Gareth Bale as well, but he definitely wouldn't have done. Oh,
No, yeah.
would he have been there? No.
Sorry, I'm sure he's up front.
Who'd you think
Oh,
I
he
am?
would have, yeah.
Midfield 2. Now, this was difficult. There's one player who clearly gets in there. Name him.
Ronaldo.
Midfield 2. Honestly, here, listen. We need a king of best bits after the episode 6.
Oh,
my
God.
doesn't
even listen.
Who's got to get
Modric.
it? No, Modric actually.
Frank Lampard.
Frank Lampard's in there. I've gone for a flat 2 though. So I've gone Lampard as my get around there. No, not my get around there. My breaking lines.
Casemiro.
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
Casemiro, would you be? Yeah, Casemiro's barely on the list. Would you believe? The second player I'm going to put beside him, right? And this is debatable because I haven't massively seen him play.
Claude
I just
Makelele.
heard about is Claude Makelele to go cover the ground around Lampard. Just go to the dog work, you baller, you.
Like, Makelele has a position named after him. The Makelele
exactly.
role.
So he
that
is
says
going
it
to
all.
cover the scraps for Lampard. So that's my midfield 2. And then my front 2 is possibly the best of all time is CR7 and Drogba. Play against them.
Against the boys.
Joke.
Ben Haim and the
Tell you what, he's in Village in Rio. That'd be a good battle.
Very good. Very good.
But I'd probably back the two.
Yeah, I
girls.
would back them as well. Good luck trying to get around them too.
Ronaldo
Absolute.
and Drogba.
Although Drogba's stats
Roberts.
don't back it up too well, if you were
Big
playing
time
a
player.
big
What a
game,
player.
Cup final
Big
player.
time player.
Sick.
And also presence. Hit
Yeah.
that man. Danger. Flick-ons.
Who's your
Ronnie,
captain? Who's your
stick it.
captain?
My captain is going to be. I'm looking around.
Lamps,
Do you know
maybe?
what? In Lamps or Pear Check. Pear Check just be
Yeah.
like, lads, relax. Get it. Move the ball. Get it to CR7.
Get the ball to the two lads on
Get it
top.
to CR7. Right. Before I finish up, because I know I'm rambling on, I'm
This is
gonna
about 20 minutes.
I'm going to name all the players from the midfield 2 and the bottom, and the 2 centre forwards who I could have picked, and you're going to be shocked. Michael Essien, shout out to Michael Essien for the legend. Michael Essien, Ozil, Kadira, Cambiasso, Kaká, Matic, Alonso, Pogba, Deco, Mikel, Modric, Casemiro, Benzema, Zlatan, Lukaku, Diego Costa, Fernando Torres, Higuain, Eto'o, Harry Kane, and Rooney.
Holy Jesus Christ.
Would you believe that?
Where's
Yeah.
Matic?
Who's there?
Did you name Matic?
Yeah, Matic was great from
Matic,
Mourinho, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's
Even
there.
like
Matic.
Xabi Alonso and all, you forget about them players.
Crazy. Xabi Alonso was actually originally in my squad, and I was like, "What am I doing?"
I can't believe you didn't go to midfield, sorry.
Mata as well.
No.
had
Get
to
the
go to
ball
two
to the
boys up
big
top.
man.
Because you could have got Ronnie Wide left.
I could have dropped Hazard, to be honest with you, and got Ronnie right left, but I really wanted the front 2 of Ronaldo and Drogba.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Well, Hazard at Chelsea was
That's
tops.
that. Daly. Sorry for the
Gary Daly.
Go for it, son.
I'm. What's this called? Knick-knack?
Knick-knack of the week that
Leeds
G-Man's
fans.
been
I want Nick-
The
calling
Leeds fans
for.
are going to love me for this one. I'm actually going to tell the story about this as well. So, I seen that some bloke does these on Twitter, right? And I thought this was going to be like half the size for like a little bookshelf I have. And then it came and it's like, how tall is that? Like,
I'm going to
Too
say
big.
15 inches.
so there he's going.
Pretty accurate, I'd say.
Yeah.
Someone measured that at the end.
So, for anyone who doesn't know who that is, obviously, a more recency for Leeds fans, it's Marcelo Bielsa. Now, I was a fan before he kind of came to England. I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
say
true.
that. Get
That's
that
true.
up
Yeah,
there.
no, that is true. That is
No,
true.
no, that's
That is true.
Schmelf.
And I'm going fully authentic with this. My starting 11 is the most erratic formation ever, but it's going to catch everyone out with a front 2 because that's how it's set up. That's actually why he set up that formation. But anyway, big thing for me, and I'm not going to talk about things like trophies now because he obviously didn't win a massive amount, some Copa Americas, the Olympics and all that kind of stuff with Argentina. But you think of football and you think there's 2 ways in football. So there's either the kind of Mourinho style, the discipline, the kind of organisation, and then there's the opposite, the like free-flowing side of like a Guardiola or whatever. And the whole thing on Bielsa, the big reason anyway, is his idea of football is kind of mashing them two schools. It's called like the third way is what he would call it. Because in Argentina, for anyone who doesn't know, they won the World Cup twice. I think Maradona played in both of them with two separate managers who were both opposite ends of the spectrum. So Carlos Bilardo was discipline. They played like a 3-5-2. Maradona was like their 10. Everyone else was basically to run around, and Maradona was the match winner essentially. But there's actually a lot of dodgy shit that they could have like apparently bought refs and all to they needed to win against Peru 4-0. They used to play the semi-finals not at the same time, so they knew going into the game against Peru they had to win by 4 and they won by 6. So there's loads of stuff with that, like their intimidation tactics and all that. But obviously the discipline side of it was quite good in some ways. And then with Cesar Luis Menotti then in 1978, so this is Bilardo was 1986, and then 1978 they won it with Menotti in the opposite side, free flowing attacking football, art and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So his whole thing is mashing the two of them. He likes the discipline side of things, and that's why if you ever watch his teams, they run like mad. They're real discipline, roll very Morgan's all over that.
All over,
very
running.
like do your job for the
Cover
team.
your ground.
And then I'm going to come on to the other side where I'm actually going to kind of skip ahead one of my points a little bit, because the opposite end, the kind of artistic side, he's 4 key principles that he goes by: permanent focus, mobility, rotation, and then the last one, when you translate it, the translation into English there's no like proper translation. It kind of comes across as like improvisation, but the actual term is a musical term used to describe the discipline of playing a piece of music without practicing it first. So the idea is he wants all this focus and discipline and all, but then he wants the kind of, what would you say, the creative side in that. Yes?
I have a question,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. Is that from an attacking point of view for that final bit you're talking about? The creativity?
That would be, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Purely looking at just the attacking phase.
So it's kind of like trying to there's always something new to do, basically, which I think is pretty cool. Big reason, I think, and this is kind of my only selling point because he didn't win a lot, I think influence is massive. I think if you look at disciples of managers, there's no one who's a disciple of Sir Alex Ferguson or Sam Allardyce, I would argue. Like, there's no one who you look at now and goes, that's like Fergie. Whereas with Bielsa, there is Guardiola, Simeone, Pochettino, Jorge Sampaoli, Jared Martino, I think is how you pronounce it. There's many managers like that who have played under him or whatnot and who now manage or have managed before. And they're all, although they might not play the same style, they're all heavily influenced by Bielsa. So that's, I know Mourinho, in fairness, has got probably has a few because he was quite innovative as well at the time. Yeah, I'm going to trail 3 different stories. Then I'm going to go straight into my starting 11 because that's probably going to be the most erratic part of this. So, story 1, this is more recent with the Leeds one, making Leeds players work like to pay basically for a tick for a game. So he made them go and do they were like doing litter pickups and all this basically normal work for the amount of time it would take a normal fan to go and buy a ticket for a game. So the idea is this is how hard people work to come and see you, and that's how you should. He was one of the first things he done when he was there. At 25, he got a coaching job in Buenos Aires University team. He watched 3,000 players before selecting 20. Then within 2 years later, he's working with a youth team at Newell's. He drove 5,000 miles around Argentina's interior for fear of missing out on players. He divided the interior into segments, and he done it in his car because he was afraid of flying.
Oh my God.
Wow.
In a little Fiat, I think it was. And then this is the last one that I really liked. At Chile, so he actually went into Chile when like their whole organisation wasn't too great, the federation and whatnot, in terms of professionalism and in terms of like money and all in it. So he would go give talks around the country to basically raise funds to build more into the technical centre. So he would go and give talks around the country and whatnot, like, because obviously he was quite known at the time for giving like football talks and leadership talks and all that kind of jazz to raise funds. So, and there's actually another one. He was at was it Marseille or Lille at the time? I think it's actually how he got fired. He was at Marseille at the time. One of his close friends back in Argentina who had coached with him, he knew him from coaching. I think he was his assistant somewhere in Argentina at the time, or before. But basically, he was dying, and he went to the club. He went, "I'm going to see him," and the club were like, if you do that, we're probably going to have to sack you. And he was like, he basically just left him and went, yeah, do what you have to do. And they suspended him and they eventually sacked him over that.
Jeez.
So yeah, I like because he's very principle based. Yeah, that's kind of why, to be fair, and very influential. Like I could go into stories about like things like video analysis and all this, and any book I've read on him, or any interview I see with a player, some loved him, some didn't really like him, because he's actually not quite. A lot of players would describe him as not like the opposite of a Sam Allardyce, and that you couldn't get on with him or what, and he kept players at a distance. He was very like professional, like relationship with people. But the one thing every player who's ever worked him says is that he made me a better footballer, essentially, which I think says a lot about a manager.
On the skills approach, he's very highly gifted in the technical side rather than the human side.
In terms of football.
Yeah, because what your man was saying from the ex-Irish international on the Sam Allardyce case was saying that he had very little or limited coaching skills in that sense. Whereas he made up his ground on the human side and the conceptual side. But it sounds like Bielsa is putting all the eggs in the technical side with some conceptual ideas of what it's like to like the bigger game, the bigger ecosystem, but had minimal to zero human skills.
And there's even the mad story, like when he done the Spygate thing and everyone's gone mad, and he was like, well, I watch all the other teams. He was like, I only do it for my own anxiety. He's like, I know everything about them anyway, and he done all his analysis and all, and gone through, like, I think when he was, the Leeds went and approached him. By the time he had heard about the approach and they actually came to meet him, he'd watched like all their games. He'd categorized all the formations they played, the most played formations in thing. And like when he's kind of asked about it, he's kind of like, why? He's like, if for me not to do all the work is me not doing my job. Like, so he's obviously mental, clearly in that sense. But yeah, I'm going to move on to my team because this is definitely going to be a bit erratic. So
Formation, please.
Formation. I've got to give a bit of context before I just say the formation because it sounds a bit mad. So one of his concepts is when he plays against a team with a front two, so a 3-5-2 or 4-4-2, he always has a back three centre halves. So the idea is when he's building up play, he's an extra player. And on the flip side, when he's playing against, let's say, a back four, so they have two centre halves, he'll have like one player up to press, basically. So the idea of this formation is to combat that. It's what he kind of he didn't play a lot at Leeds, to be fair, in the second season. He's done a bit in the Championship, and previously he's done that a lot. Is a 3-3-1-3. Now, I'm going to give you the breakdown of how the system works. The initial three, it'll obviously be a centre half, but what he uses as either side are basically either really technical centre halves or fullbacks converted into them positions.
Okay, yeah.
The next line of three has one centre mid, and then either side are two more traditional fullbacks who can be quite attack minded as well. Then has a single 10, which is like basically an old school number 10, like an Ozil type. And then a front three is basically a centre forward and then two wide players.
That's class.
So in goal, I kind of only went with one choice. I only really had Claudio Bravo. So with Chile, over 143 caps and 500 career appearances. Now I'm kind of going off the whole career, not what they played with him. Central centre half is Mascherano, 147 caps, 436 senior appearances, over 24 trophies.
Jesus.
Left side, this is a newer player, Laporte. He had him in Bilbao, yes.
Wow.
I don't have any of his kind of stats or not, but I'm thinking he's quite a football-minded centre half, so he'll be all right there.
Balance
And lefty. The right of the back three is a player called Robert Ayala. He was an Argentinian. He has captained them the most in their history. So he's 63 games as captain, 116 caps, over 500 senior appearances. He would have captained Argentina when Bielsa was the manager there. My next line, my central centre mid, I went with a bit of a destroyer in Diego Simeone. Over 500 appearances, 108 caps, 11 trophies. Right side is my man Javier Zanetti. Over 700 appearances, 17 trophies, 145 caps. Can actually play right or left side of that, as a fullback. Left one is an old school United shout, Gabriel Heinze, 72 caps.
He was close.
400 appearances, 10 trophies.
But I seen his name and thought about it. It wasn't really close.
So that's my second line of three. So like a centre mid and two fullbacks essentially.
Yeah.
The 10 is Juan Roman Riquelme, an old school player.
Yeah, what a player, man.
Didn't do it really in Europe, but it was a bit of a sicko, and I couldn't really have no one else to put in there, to be honest.
He's a sicko, man. He deserves
Calvin
to be there.
Phillips.
Such a YouTube player.
He's top player.
Highlights
12
are
trophies, 4 players of the year, 51 caps, 17 goals, 400 senior appearances, 108 goals, 79 assists.
Sick.
He was just like, for anyone if anyone watches this, might be quite young. He was like what in the
2006 World
90s,
Cup, I think.
yeah,
Was he?
late
I think it was his
90s,
last one, if I'm not
2002,
mistaken.
like in early 2000s. Was a good player though. Front three, Alexis Sanchez wide left, 148 caps for Chile, 48 goals,
Chile,
17 trophies. Wide right, I know he's not really a wide right, but I'm putting there anyway, is Tevez. 76 caps, 13 goals, 13 assists, which actually is quite low, I thought. 500 career appearances, Tevez. 500 appearances, over 500. 227 goals, 107 assists. So that's
Wow.
what?
Jesus.
Over 330 goal bombs.
Contributions.
27 trophies.
What?
Ridiculous.
Insane.
And then my last one is the World Cup man. And I actually just only seen a video of him there recently. Gabriel, I hope I don't butcher his name, Batistuta. Was a centre forward for Argentina.
Long
You'll
hair.
love him. Yeah, he was sick.
Yeah.
78 caps, 56 goals. 12 World Cup goals, 12 World Cup games, 10 goals.
What?
444
Jesus
senior
Christ,
appearances,
man.
248 goals.
Wow.
Your team's got pedigree.
10,
That front
10
three
trophies,
is
1 player of the
joke.
year, 5 top scorers in
Well, that
different
front three.
competitions.
That's a serious
You
squad.
pulled
man.
a squad out of thin air.
Yeah.
I love
That's
the
some
context
squad.
of the
Notable-
converted wingers and all.
Yeah, I'll go absentees. Pochettino, Walter Samuel used to play centre half for Inter, Arturo Vidal, Ander Herrera,
Player.
Varane, and Hernan Crespo.
Wow.
Ooh, surprised Crespo's not in there. I
Yeah.
suppose your man obviously has got the stats.
The World Cup
Crespo's
stats
a
kind of
baller
done
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
That was,
Daly, you've pulled a squad out of thin air. That was very good.
Yeah.
And I
Very
kept it
good
as
squad.
authentic as I could with the system.
Very interesting. So what I
Very,
love about
very good.
Bielsa and love about these players is that the Europeans and the Irish are quite and me how do I say this?
It was me.
No, I mean like the European
I get what you mean. I know what you're
footballers.
gonna say,
They never watch South American football. It's getting
Yeah.
way more
I
fun now.
love South American football, but I don't watch it. But I love.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Boca Juniors documentary?
No.
No, I have to though.
So, Amazon.
Class. Yeah.
No, I
That
think-
sounds
no,
to me
Netflix.
like a team
Is it?
that I
think it's
would
on
love
Netflix.
to play for.
Daly.
Kind of like a Mourinho. Old school values, new traditions,
Mhm.
pedigree, leaders.
Yeah.
It's class.
Nice.
I know you're a big Bielsa fan and so well read on him, so that was very
That was
interesting. Very insightful.
That was good. I think the real question to wrap it up is who wins, Jose or Fergie or my team?
What's my stat against Bielsa? What's Bielsa
Oh,
against
yeah,
Jose?
Bielsa. Actually, I don't even need to look at it. 5 games, 5 wins.
Oh yeah.
Eat that.
Oh, with Leeds,
Really?
wasn't
Eat that. I dominated you, destroyed you,
it?
Well, that was-
and then.
I was torn between Zanetti and Luke Ayling for a right full. So I'm not gonna lie.
Allardyce is looking at Chelsea and he's thinking, nah, no points there. No points there. Let's just go straight to
Charlton away, Charlton away.
Factorial.
Kinger, what do you reckon?
6 draws is good against Mourinho, though. Is that what it was? 6 draws?
Well, you just admitted that he's a better manager there.
No, because Allardyce said worst teams.
No, 6 draws against you. I only had like 3 draws.
Oh, how many do you have against Mourinho? I thought it was 6.
No,
It coulda- it coulda-
13
it's still
games.
3 is still-
No, 13 games, 3 draws, 10 losses for Allardyce. That's what it was.
3 draws, yeah.
3 draws.
Yeah.
10 losses.
You had 6 draws.
You had 6
With
draws.
you.
No, with,
No, with
him.
me. With me.
You.
Yeah. I beat you.
That was never in the thing.
You and honestly, Noel, can we get a compilation of this fella just talking nonsense?
I personally think Jose Mourinho is
I
the
think
best
my
manager of
team
all
wins,
time.
to be honest with you.
At the
I
minute.
think your team.
At the minute.
Probably,
I can't
although
believe-
my team, I think it's your team, my team.
I think Daly's team for pedigree. Pure
Daly's team
pedigree,
and your
international pedigree, I think your
Yeah,
team
I
comes
think
last.
you're
Although I think you've pulled a very good squad
Yeah.
out of the players you've worked with.
No, your team's the worst.
Mine wins tournament football.
I think that team wins a World Cup.
Well,
Yeah,
they,
but
well,
like-
they didn't, and they should have in 2002. They
No,
weren't.
but I think that
I
team
know
wins a
what you
World
mean.
Cup.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
I think if you're gonna go against the Mourinho, you need to go guns against guns.
This either works ridiculously well against Mourinho or it gets like you lose 5 now. It's in or out.
I'm not gonna do it again.
Right.
I want to give one more stat. Just one more thing before we go. This is guess Mourinho's record against Pep, because I think this would be the most interesting.
It's not great, isn't it? No?
Not great. So he's played 25 matches. I think he's the most ever he's came up against a single manager.
Pep Guardiola. Yeah.
Pep Guardiola, obviously the Barca, the Real, the best football ever, and then also came up United and City, which is
Yeah.
also savage, right?
That is cool.
25 matches. Guess how many he won. First of all, Jose won.
I'm going to say like 6 or 7.
7 is spot on. He's won 7
Yeah.
games out of 25. How many has he drawn?
13.
No,
No, 2.
no,
No, a good bit. 8,
no,
9,
no,
7.
4.
no,
10.
no. Ah, lads, I'm just gonna say 6. We'll be here all day.
Oh, it's close. 8, 9, 7.
So he's won 7, drawn 6. He's lost 12 times to Pep,
Yeah, I knew Pep had a
and he got that
record,
run around
Jeez.
4-0. Remember that?
Yeah.
So,
Messi
Pep is the new heir to the throne.
showcase.
I have
Yeah.
to say.
Anyway, that was fun.
Whap it.
That was fun.
good, yeah,
Enjoyed
was
that.
Good little episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Delighted to take the W though. Congratulations to
Who's Yer Man?
you, Kinger, on the board.
And,
I'm still.
congrats.
I need to.
What do you have?
clutch
Two?
up.
You have
I'm
two,
none.
Gary, do
No,
you?
one each. And
One each.
I'm
One
none.
each.
Daly,
And you're none.
Yeah.
Kinger, you were here.
I know. But still. I don't get to see the visual.
Right, G, take us out.
Yeah. Big thank you to everyone that watches either on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, and you can leave anywhere up to a 5-star rating on both Spotify and also Apple Podcasts. We've seen a huge increase in our Instagram following, a huge increase in our YouTube following. So if this is your first touch point with Training 121, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please follow us across all social medias, including Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're also looking at starting a Patreon account as well for exclusive content, and you can also download the Training 121 app as well. But other than that, then, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.